we talked about people who are like kind of on the fence about therapy, but I'm almost thinking about even let's take another step back even more, because there's some people who are just in it. They're it's right before their breaking moment, because in some ways the breaking down is a result of like truly just denying and avoiding your issues.
Yeah. Or not knowing.
Or not
Honestly,
knowing.
Or
not knowing.
Is
bliss.
Yeah.
So what are some things now that you're like on this side of things, like what are things that you do now to actively, I guess, support, exercise your mental health, if you will, like what are some habits that you have or tools that you now use on a pretty regular basis that help you?
Well, for me, again, I'm a very career-driven person, so it took me a while to understand that my job is not my life.
Oh my God.
Right? So
I'm glad you hit on that. Okay, yes.
And again, I'm always going to say this is very personal to me, right? It's my own experience and how I understand my world. Not, it might be debatable, don't come at me. But yeah, I mean, your job is not your life. Even if you're amazing at your job and you love it and you're passionate, it's not only your job, it's, your passion in life, what you were born to do. It's not all you are.
It's not all you. So people have said that before, but what was the moment? There's always a moment, a situation, a realization.
When I drive into the ER
happened.
myself because I thought I was having a heart attack.
Was that it?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I thought I was having literally a heart attack because I was stressed out. I was tired.
Goodness.
I was working 12 hours a day, every single day. Between 10 or 12, I don't want to lie. I mean, it was ridiculous at that point, but because I felt I was so responsible, right? I was the responsible one. And fair, I had a lot of responsibilities in my team, but myself, I had in my head that if I don't do my job, I'm not a responsible person, right? Or if I don't deliver this way, then my person, who I am, is gonna be affected or impacted by the way that my job, is coming up.
Say that again. Say that again.
Yeah, it's not. It's not all you are. That's the whole point of it. So, I had a panic attack in the middle of like this huge presentation that we needed to do, and that's where I realized like this is not worth it. It's not worth my health. It's not worth my physical health and my mental health. At that point in time, I really thought I was having a heart attack. And unfortunately, like the job environment, it's not gonna care for you as much as you think. Like it's a job.
It's a job.
It's a job.
Business and
I mean, bless everybody that really loves it. I love my job to this day. Like I knew I wanted to be in what I do since I was little, really, like 14, 15. But not to the point where that is, that trumps your health and your well-being.
Well, you said something really interesting, and that's why I was like, say it again, because I think it's one of those things where it's like, until you, like, you can hear a lot of things and be like, yeah. No, but when you believe that, it's powerful. And what you said about, you're like, if I'm irresponsible here, does that make me an irresponsible person? It's like, the whole thing with job and career identity, it's like, if you make a mistake or if you do XYZ at your job, that doesn't define you as a person, as a human being.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not, apples to apples. It's not the same thing. And I think once you believe that, you got to believe that. Like, don't let that go over your head, y'all. Like, no, like we are human, we're complex, we're so many things. And it's like, once you believe that, there's just like, I don't know, I think for me it was very empowering to finally realize that.
Yeah. That
these things do not correlate to me as a human being, and we forget that. There's all these identities that we have, I'm sure, for people who are mothers, you just start layering, all these identities, and it's like, at the end of the day, you're Vero. Like, there's no other Vero out there in the world. You're the only Vero. Yeah. Full Vero, Perea. but you know what I mean? Like,
am I only me?
You're only you, and you are so many things, and like just because
Yeah.
XYZ, good or bad, you know, you're still you, and you get to, and that's something my own therapist told me is like, you get to define who you are.
Exactly.
And
you don't want to be this slave to your work
or to anything or
to
anyone.
anything.
Like,
yeah, that's true. I feel like, to me, I'm a very eclectic person, so I need to diversify in my world. Being that, like, what I'm working on or what my hobbies, you know, always trying something new. And I feel like even for more, you know, close person, or you know, people that are really like the familiarity more than the thing new. I feel like even that type of person needs some type of, you know, variety in their life in general. So that's something that I learned in therapy as well, and as I was going through lots of things, that I needed to diversify and go back to the things that I really love besides work. Yeah,
I love that. I'm glad you brought that up, actually. I don't know how I forgot about that. That's a big one. Is career identity. Something I've come to realize, and this is it's called cognitive behavior therapy. There's an app, which I'll put in the description. I think I've talked about it before if you're on my channel, but it's something that really helps me. It's an app that I use every day. I go through how I'm feeling, my emotions, from the bad to the negative, positive scale, I guess. And what I've recently come to realize is, and I truly, again, I believe this, I've experienced this, I do believe it for myself, is that I can be really happy, or I can be inspired, but at the same time, I can be nervous, I can be anxious, and that emotions don't necessarily, and this, I can't quote myself, I'm gonna quote somebody that I know, Jeannie Spinner, but I was telling her about this, and she said, emotions don't cancel each other out. And I was like, no, they don't. Like, they're all together. It's this holistic, you know, emotions are all, it's everything all together, and they shouldn't necessarily.
It's all the feels.
It's all the feels, and they shouldn't necessarily dictate one way or the other. I think so. Anyways, I'm so curious to think to hear what you have to say about when it comes to emotions and all that stuff.
Well, I've learned that too. That you can have very much conflicting emotions at the same moment, at the same time, and that's what sometimes gives your head a good spin, right? Like, it's like, whoa, what's going on right now? That's where confusion comes in. That's where you cannot make decisions, you know, and you feel like you're stuck. To me, what helps me is getting this notion that I learned also in therapy, that emotions usually come and go. You know, you will feel them all. They will leave you. They will go. They will disappear. You know. Now, obviously, if you're an overthinker, as I am,
and I am, that's why we're friends.
Because we overthink everything, or triple think, or they might take a little longer in leaving. Yeah. So for me, the trick was, okay, this is an emotion. This is a huge emotion that I'm feeling right now. I either take a step back and say, this is what I'm feeling. That's fair, you know, because of what happened to me right now, or whatever in my context. It will go away, right? If it's very overwhelming, I need to step back, to take a step back and do something else. You get distracted. And then just really, really believing that it will go away, because it will. Emotions are they're not your core thoughts, right? They're not your core values. They just come and go, and it's reactions to whatever is happening in your environment.
Yes.
So that's the definition, right? But it's very difficult to understand that when you're in the middle of the storm, right? When you're in the middle of that horrible feeling, anguish, and disoriented, right? It's very difficult to get there. So for me, again, meditation, you know, even writing down your feelings, like you were saying, right? Like the diary type of thing, helps also slow things down, right? So just try to slow things down, right? if somebody's coming at you, your boss, your boyfriend, you know, there's a certain situation where you don't feel safe and you feel like you're gonna lose it, you have all the right in the world to say, I need a moment, you know, and just step back and slow things down for you, because that's where your brain is going like, woo. And if you don't feel comfortable that way, you have all the right to say, I need to slow down. So
yeah, slow down, y'all. I love that. I think that's I think people would be surprised how powerful it is to just slow down in general. That's one thing I learned. I don't know if you feel the same way when it comes to everything in life.
Like, and I'm not a master in it at all. I'm telling you, like, you need to practice, right? Like anything else in the world that you want to become better at.
Yeah.
Practice with meditation, with like doing this and that. All these tips that we're talking about. I'm not master by any means. You know, I have a lot of faults still, and I'm struggling a lot still with a lot of things. But at least I feel like now I got to the point where I know what they are, you know, and you identify them, you point them out, you look at it at, you know, the face of your emotions. It's like, I know you're an emotion. I know you're gonna go away.
Yes. I mean, I think that's fair, and I think, you know, I'm very transparent on my channel and where I'm at, which I'm kind of where you are, where I'm like, I'm very self-aware of like what's going on, and you know, have my days and stuff like that, but I do feel very self-aware, which I think is I'm happy about that phase in my life, because I'm like, okay, I can look back and be like, wow, like I was in a very darker place, and I'm happy with what I have right now. I know I'm doing the best I can right now, and that journal is really helpful. I think I really encourage people to use that if you are struggling. Because you see the journal and you're like, oh my God, like I didn't realize I was feeling that way, because these feelings come and go and you forget, and you're like, wait, that's not how it is, you know. And so I think that's
and recording them, it also helps you understand the trigger, right?
Yeah.
So you're recording, hey, this day was horrible, and at the same time you know that something happened at that day, maybe you start doing the correlations, right? At one point in time you kind of like figure it out, and you find a formula where you go crazy, you know, and where you're like your safe space is.